Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before I begin, please forget to like and subscribe. Also share and comment on the video. I would love to hear some video ideas. Also as well, please don't forget to follow me on my socials, which you can contact me through there. Kirsty Johnson Coaching on both Facebook and on Instagram, where you can also submit video ideas. Also as well, please don't forget, I am actually a dating and relationship coach, kirstyjohnsoncoaching@gmail.com for further information. Okay, today's video is on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and I know you guys have probably heard this thousands of times, but I really have a thing with this bit, because there's two things that this really shows. First and foremost, don't always believe the first person that cries, because Amber Heard is not the victim. Now, I don't necessarily think Johnny Depp is the victim either. I actually think they're probably both just as bad as each other, but the fact that she came up and was like, I'm such a victim, when we all know she's the perpetrator of the crimes. I don't think that Depp particularly is entirely innocent in this. This is my take on it. But also it brought other things up with stuff like this, such as the fact that abuse can happen to men, because a lot of people think abuse mainly happens between like a man abusing a woman, but actually most abuses now have actually turned the other way, and most of them are actually, well, female to male. And the reason a lot of them are not reported is because an injury that a man can do to a woman is a lot more than what a woman can do to a man, which I guess is the only saving grace of some of these accounts, is that they don't end up dead, because a lot of abuse that happens man to woman ends up in death, which is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Like, every single time you hear a case, like he stalked her and there was nothing she could do, and you're just like, oh my god. Makes you really scared of the world, doesn't it? Really scared of the world. But this whole thing really does struck a chord. When did I learn English again? Really, I'm gonna say resonated, Kirsty. Resonated with me, because it really did bring something up that was like, what? Like, this whole thing. So from what I can kind of gather, he got an injury on like the set of like Pirates of the Caribbean, I think in like 2000 and, when did it say? It was like 2015 or something, 16, which apparently was from Heard. And then you had the incident with was it a dog or something that they had? I have researched this. I'm trying to remember it from memory. And they had like the weird apology, and apparently she went off on that one. The big incident that kind of was apparently the big sort of hoo-ha of what actually happened was, which the first thing that I heard about was that apparently there was this thing where I think Johnny came in, apparently, like, I don't know if he wrestled for the phone from Amber, he like hit her with a phone on the cheek, that sort of incident. I think it was like May 2017, I think 16 or 17. So that was kind of the big thing, and we all now know that didn't happen, or at least not in the way that we were told in the first place. For what I actually think probably happened is that Amber probably went off on Johnny. Johnny probably defended himself, which does not make him that innocent either, because by the sounds of it, she was throwing punches and he was whacking back, which is a fight. It's assault on both sides. So yeah, it is hard, and I think sometimes when you're in this situation, you do want to fight back. And I'm going to say this now, because I do think that Amber Heard definitely gaslights, and she's definitely emotionally abusive as well as physically, but I actually think Johnny Depp is more an emotional abuser, and there's a lot of people who said he's a nice guy, but he does have a bit of manipulatory streak, and we can see this in some of the text messages that are coming out when she's going, I think he's saying wanting her dead, and I wish she was this and that, and I would love to like kill her or something like that. Really weird. It's that's sort of a manipulation technique, but also as well, someone who's manipulated, a manipulator can be manipulated, and this is a very strange phenomenon, because we often think that someone who manipulates cannot be manipulated. Well, they can. Someone can play them at their game just better. And that is kind of the weird part of that thing. So taking sort of what happened with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard aside, and we're talking more about our own lives, what can we do when we are stuck in a situation where sort of we are being gaslighted and we are being made to seem like the villain in something that we are victims? And I've spoken about this before, but lies will come out eventually. And one thing I love that Johnny Depp has kind of done is he hasn't really put any statements out there. He's just going, and some more evidence, and some more evidence, and some more evidence, and some more evidence to the courts. He hasn't said a word. He's just like, yep, another bit, and another bit, and another bit. And it's kind of been like, and Amber can't do the same. Because even though I do think Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's relationship was toxic, and I think Johnny definitely was a part in that, she still was the actual abuser. Whether or not he was manipulative or whatever else, she's the actual abuser. So he knew that was going to come out. He knows he's going to look like an absolute idiot, stupid, horrible kind of person. But he knows at the end of the day, he is innocent of the crime that was supposedly his. And that he is actually the victim to some degree in this situation, and he knows it will come out eventually. He is not putting on an act of I am the victim, because at the end of the day, if you are actually the victim in the situation, you don't need to say you're the victim. Nobody, when someone has come forward and confessed rape, nobody sits there and goes, well, how do we know that? People go, oh darling, it's okay, you'll be all right. Of course you'll be all right. Now he can when I says, I am a victim, professing yourself as a victim doesn't make you the victim. And if you come forward and you tell your story about the fact, when something's happened to you, like abuse or something like that, a lot of abusers, this is how they can kind of distinguish the difference between someone who's lying or someone who's not. Someone who's a victim probably won't want to be called a victim of abuse. Not all the time, but most of the time they won't. Or if they will, they're going, you were the victim of abuse. And they might slowly nod or whatever. Because people who have generally gone through trauma often don't want to recognize they've gone through trauma. This is the whole thing that psychodynamic and psychoanalysis was actually born upon, which was the idea that we hide trauma. So it's very, very hard, and then we manifest it in specific ways, like defense mechanisms and all sorts of weird behavior. And people who this is why a lot of the phenomenon that when people have actually been abused, they remember stupid things about the moment because they've repressed everything else. They've repressed the act, they've repressed the feelings, but they haven't repressed that the room had blue curtains or the floor was grey or whatever. They haven't repressed them ones because it's the only part of that entire memory that isn't triggering. Sorry to use that word, but it is. It's the only thing that doesn't make them sort of build up with anxiety. And someone who is a victim often won't admit that, or if they will, it's well after therapies and well after when they've gone through a case, or even just in general been or they might say it in different ways, oh, I was abused by a boyfriend. They won't say I was a victim of abuse. They'll never say that. They'll probably be I was abused, and they probably won't want to say anymore. I wouldn't. So yeah, that's another thing. And also as well, I think with this, and I spoke about this in my Taylor and Kim video, in that if someone is caught up in a lie, they'll be caught up in the lie. And this is what Johnny has done. He's kept going with the case because he has to bring up a case, because unfortunately you can't do that in court. But he's kind of stayed silent. And in the case of sort of public opinion, even though he was squashed in the first instance, now people are coming towards him and been actually, he seems to be the victim of this. Or at least he seems to be the innocent party. So that's what he's just come forward and done. for you guys, I would say, for, you know, people who are going through stuff like this and through trauma, it's horrible because you want to be like, I was abused, and I was raped, and I was this. But the second you do that is when you lose people, and it sounds really ironic. But when, you know, when things come through and stories come through, and I always think this as well, like, it happens once, it might be a fluke. It happens again, it's a pattern. And people will recognize patterns. Nobody sits there and, you know, when you've got that ex-boyfriend, you know, that's like, oh, he's dated this girl, and like, and you go off and you have a really, really good, healthy relationship, and he goes off and he has hundreds and hundreds of girlfriends that all seem to end the same way, and they all seem to be psycho. At some point, someone's going to be like, actually, I don't think that's right. They're going to pick up. People pick up on patterns. They don't pick up on a coincidence. They pick up on a pattern. And this is what cheating is. The fact that, you know, one time your partner goes out late and stays late is just lost track of time, was with his friends, had an amazing time. The fact he keeps doing it, or keeps staying after work, or keeps not turning his phone off, or keeps asking you if he's gaslighting, keeps asking you if you're cheating once, might be that he's suspicious of something you've done. Doing it a few times, not suspicion, that's gaslighting. That's, I know I'm doing it, so you must be doing it. And you know these patterns, and you're like, this has become a pattern. A coincidence happens relative to something else, and they might not be connected. A pattern, they're connected. A pattern assumes that it keeps going on, and it doesn't stop. So, yeah. So in the sense of like cheating and stuff like that, but also as well from your own perspective, somebody will see through them lies, and you will see through these lies. Because this also shows, like I said earlier, with the sort of relationship, that if something happens a coincidence but something keeps persistingly happening, you're going to see through it at some point. And it might take you months, it might take you years, it might take you decades, but you will see it. You will see it. So yeah, this is a bit of a rant kind of video. I have a lot more to say about this, but I'm just going to leave it here. So I'm just going to summarize what we've kind of spoken about today, which is about sort of the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. The fact that in most relationships, when relationships end, there isn't necessarily always a guilty and an innocent party. Sometimes some of you are guilty of some of you are guilty of, or innocent of others. But when it comes to a lie about you, or a pattern in a relation, or a sort of repeated coincidence or pattern in a relationship, it'll come out. Lies always come out. I spoke about it in my Kim and Taylor video, in that lie will come out, and so with this. So yeah. Also as well, abuse can happen to men just as much as it can happen to women, and it's about helping those who have experienced trauma. And also as well, yeah, that's today's video. So obviously, before I end today's video, I just want to repeat again, socials, Kirsty Johnson Coaching, Facebook and Instagram. Of course, you can submit ideas for new videos. I think I've left a little information box as well. You can fill in a question thingy of 2 separate videos. You can also ask questions on Kirsty Johnson Coaching Instagram for requests also as well. Also, yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Comment down below what you think, if you're interested, if you would like a second video, that sort of thing. Also as well, kirstyjohnsoncoaching@gmail.com if you're wanting coaching sessions, dating and relationship style, or even life, because I also do a bit of life. Yeah, it's a very, very stressful time at the moment for everybody. So yeah, at the moment in the world and everything. And just to clarify as well, I am an online coach, so no need to go out of your house, no need to leave the sanctity of your peace. Okay, so have a lovely day, please stay safe, and thank you for listening to my podcast.